Back with us now to take us through their selection of the newspapers today, broadcaster Sonali Shah and financier Michael Jarman. Welcome back to you. We're going to have a look again at this story, which we had a look at a little while back, but it's caused a lot of response. And this is the piece in the Mail. It's about England footballers, photographs which sort of speak for themselves. It raises a lot of questions. Let's have a look at it again. There it is. Those are the pictures. Yeah, so that's segregation, basically.
Yeah, absolutely. Ben Douglas in the Daily Mail, he's written an article about these photos of the England under-20s football squad. And he's just asked us to look at these photos and ask yourself, what do they tell us about race in Britain today? And if you look at the top photo, and I noticed it instantly, you know, not everyone would necessarily, one table entirely black players, another table entirely white players, and then again on the bikes. Now, he's pointed out that during this tour of the squad training, it's not like there were divisions, everyone got on, and actually there were lots of photos of everyone together mixed up. But what he's asking is that do groups subconsciously sometimes gravitate towards their own in terms of colour? One of the main paragraphs in this is that he just thinks the pictures illuminate an element of British society that he feels is too often ignored because in this politically correct age it's deemed taboo to talk about this. And I have to say this is something I've noticed at different events or parties, that sometimes people just gravitate towards your own. You're in a very mixed group of people. And it does happen, and maybe it is just subconscious, and maybe it's okay.
And it doesn't suggest that there is any racism at play. I mean, he's not suggesting there's anything sinister.
No, he said that. He said there's nothing. You know, he's not saying there's anything racist. Everyone, he said, appears to get along. It's just sometimes
you could argue
ended up in these groups.
For say, if you had groups of middle class and working class people,
absolutely.
they would probably gravitate towards each other because they have shared experiences.
But as I say, it has caused quite a few people to email and tweet in. One here that says, Sky News playing the race card again, not one white person on the panel. The story, just for your information, is incidental to the panel that we invite on. But there's another that's an email that's come in, which says, I feel that to have 5 presenters on today's news who are from ethnic minorities is totally unbalanced. There are about 60 million people in the UK, about 50 million are white British. Surely the mix of today's presenters does in no way represent that fact. I won't name you because you might want to rethink that.
Wouldn't it be nice that if people talked about talent rather than
being competent and being able to do the job rather than and just seeing past all of it? It's not something that I would have even noticed, to be honest with you.
Or thinking that you're being invited on because you're from an ethnic minority to comment on this story. This just happens to be a story in the paper today.
Yeah, exactly. So, but it does happen in life. It does happen in all walks of life. You know, consciously or unconsciously, you do gravitate towards what you know. And it even goes back to the fact of, you know, what music they've all got their iPhones on them, I'm assuming, listening to their music. They're probably listening to a certain genre of music that's maybe someone from a different ethnic background doesn't. So naturally you cohabitate with people that you
That's so true about music. At university, I noticed that the black and Asian kids would gravitate towards each other a bit more because they listened to hip-hop a bit more and R&B, and they had that thing in common. And
that's probably not a generalisation now,
that was 20 years ago, you know,
Well, I went to university and I hung out with a lot of white kids because there were no black or Asian kids at my university, and a lot of them loved rap and hip-hop.
No,
that's what I mean. That was the case at my uni. So.
But a very interesting talking point, and I'm sure that the players themselves perhaps didn't even notice. So it'd be interesting to find out what they think of these photos. Very interesting talking point. Let's move on to the serious business of finance, Mike.